We're back, baby. Brentford 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2. And of course, here I am on the spot. It doesn't matter if it's Boxing Day. My family don't like me anyway. Been a while since I've done one of these. It's almost like there's been a big thing that's dropped halfway through the middle of the season to stop me from doing it. So yeah, apologies if this is a bit more rambling than the previous efforts because I'm out of practice. So, you know, whatever, who cares? Weird one that today, wasn't it? Weird one. Obviously, Christmas Day yesterday, had a fair few to drink. I'm hard, you know. He says, does I not? And I felt like, as a result, I've actually sort of escaped a hangover today, really, all the physical effects of a hangover. But I feel like, do you ever feel this? Sometimes when you've hit it pretty hard, it's almost like your serotonin and everything is a bit fucked up the next day. So I wasn't particularly disappointed when we went 2-0 down, and I wasn't particularly buzzing when we got it back to 2-2. I was glad, you know. It's not really a reflection on Tottenham or how I feel about anything or Antonio Conte, although get him out of my club. No, I don't know. It's a weird one, isn't it? It's gonna sort of raise all those issues of, is this a Tottenham thing that we do? Do we conserve energy in the first half? Do we not go for it as much as we could? And then in this sort of promise that we're going to sucker teams into this kind of false sense of security. Because let's be honest, we could have won it by the end. We could and maybe should have won it. On balance, you would say a draw is a fair result. That penalty just before Brentford's second goal, the penalty it wasn't, Mee's challenge on Kane is pretty mad to me. I'm not really sure how officials can look at VAR, whatever it is, you know, how officials can look at. That's like saying pin number, isn't it? You know, how officials can look at VAR. VAR is the official. How the VAR officials can watch the replay. That's what I should have said. That's what I was looking for. See, I told you I'm out of practice. Right? And I'm just fucking, you know, I'm gonna wind myself up today with shit like that because it's just, see, this is what you come to, right? This is what you come here for, right? It's precision, you know. It's like a fine-tuned precision engine. Something you find on a rocket going into outer space. There's no room. There's no room for mistakes, is there? Right? And that's not what you get here. This is a proper operation. What the fuck was I on about? Tottenham could have won the game. Didn't win the game. It's a weird one, isn't it? You can't really draw too many conclusions. As much as I myself, as I was watching it, was getting sucked into kind of old narratives of Conte, of the formation, of the way we're playing, of certain players. You know, several times throughout the game I was sort of saying to mates like, Son's done, isn't he? I just think he's done. I just think physically he's shot. I think he's done. I think Son's gone. What are we going to do? He might be, I don't know. But there has just been a World Cup. We are the first game back from the World Cup. So it's the sample size as to how much the World Cup has affected teams or not is at the moment limited to Tottenham and Brentford. I think Brentford did they have any players go to the World Cup? Maybe they had a couple of Danish players or something, but it's not a real kind of World Cup. It's not a real country anyway, is it? So can't count that. But unlike Tottenham, who have had a lot of kind of big players, although Lloris absent, Romero absent, Richarlison obviously absent. May he recover quickly. Bentancur as well, who there was some hope that he'd be back today, but I think everybody knew that was going to be a bit soon for him. We can't draw any conclusions from this. The conclusion we can draw is that Tottenham, despite not playing that well, are still good enough to go 2-0 down away to Brentford, tricky place to go, as they say, and still come away with a draw. I don't think any of us are complaining about that, right? First game back after a World Cup. course, it would have been nice to get the 3 points by the end of the game, but we didn't do it. So that's that, isn't it? It's it is a weird one. Do I talk about Conte? I don't know. I'll probably next, when I do one of the pods with somebody else, when I get somebody else on, I do want to talk a bit more about Conte. I want to talk a bit more about this contract situation, about January windows. But again, like I'm saying with the football here now, I don't really want to draw too many conclusions about Conte, about his contract, because, you know, he's always playing the media. I'm not trying to go fucking tinfoil here. I'm not saying it in that conspirator way, but he does play the media. He keeps his cards very close to his chest. He plays owners as well. You know, he knows how to get what he wants. He knows his stock is high. But equally, any of us going to be that surprised if he does leave? I don't know. Dan Lowe said on the last podcast before the World Cup that he thinks ultimately it's going to be a case that Conte's going to look around and think, I can't win the league with Tottenham. And that might sound pessimistic, but, you know, if we're just looking at Manchester City, we're looking at kind of likely resurgent Liverpool. Who knows about any of the rest of them? Chelsea keeps signing players, but with no real structure to what they're doing, it seems. Anyway, it's a bit of a weird one, Chelsea. I'm not really sure what they're up to, but I do wonder if, like, there's something in what Dan said in terms of, like, manager like Conte, whether we give him money or not, is probably going to be thinking these lot are still quite far off. I don't know. Who knows? Alistair Gold and lots of the other journos were talking about Pochettino waiting in the wings. Don't really know how I feel about it. I mean, obviously, look, if Pochettino does come back, first game back in the stadium, it's erupting in, oh, he's magic. You know, it's going to be all the feels. It'll be great. And I don't really have that self-preservation, that fear of him ruining what came before if it doesn't work. You know, kind of, a lot of people said that when Bale was coming back. Oh, I don't know about this. I don't want it to ruin what we had with him previously. I don't really buy into that. If it doesn't kind of get better from that point, I don't think it takes anything away from what people have done previously, personally. But, you know, everyone interprets things differently, so everyone's allowed to have their own take on that. Do I think, though, Pochettino coming back right now, say if Conte were to leave at the end of the season, would be the best thing for Tottenham? I don't know. I can't really say. I think that's kind of my main feeling on it, in terms of, like, it maybe feels slightly uncomfortable, but I like the familiarity of it. I like the kind of his clear sense that he's got unfinished business with the club. I think it would spell the end of Harry Kane's career at Tottenham, but I'm not overly convinced that Conte or not, that might not already be a done deal. But I don't know. I don't want to go into that too much today. It's not one for today. Because like I say, it is Boxing Day, and I want to... I don't know. I say I want to get back on it, but I'm not sure I'll do it. I had so much just then, such a mix of different things as you do. Do you know what I mean? A bit of champagne, because I'm ardent socialist, you know. And I had, what did we have? A couple of espresso martinis, a Bloody Mary, a load of Bucks Fizz. It got to about like 9:30, 10 o'clock. My heart was absolutely pounding out my chest. Horrible, uncomfortable feeling. I found that booze does it. Please, if anybody listening to this wants to say, "Oh, that actually means you're going to die," just don't tell me that. Let me just bask in my blissful drunken ignorance on that. But needless to say, I did Google it, and it is quite a normal thing for excessive alcohol consumption to make your pulse race. It's horrible. It is horrible, isn't it? Especially when it finally catches up with you. I told you this was going to be a mess, didn't I? I'm sorry. I don't even know if are any of you going to be... Well, yeah, actually, people do a lot of driving at this time of year, going to and from family members. A lot of, you know, I know I've got a fair few American listeners. Hope everybody on the East Coast is all good. just because I'm singling out Americans doesn't mean that if you're listening from anywhere else that is affected by any other issue. Ukraine, for example, I actually have a couple of listeners in Ukraine. Hope you're all good. Hope everybody in a place where there's some peril to your existence is good, and you can at least take some solace in watching Tottenham Hotspur, although fucking hell, I feel bad for you if that's the case, and then listening to me sat in my wife's car outside my parents' house, talking about football in a really broken, rusty, shitty way. If you can get some joy from this, then good on you. But yeah, like I said, I don't know if anybody will be listening today. I thought I would do it immediately because, whatever. I've got to start greasing the wheels, getting back up to speed, releasing these after each match. Because why not? There's nothing worse than being irrelevant, is there? There are lots of things worse than being irrelevant. Let's have a look at the team lineups. So Fraser Forster in goal. It was a bit, I'm not 100% on why Lloris didn't start. Is he not mentally there? Not physically there? Don't really know. If it's the former, again, I know he's only human, but still, club captain, senior member of the team, you would like to think, regardless of just losing the World Cup final or not, he would still be in an alright place to play against Brentford, but clearly not. I thought Forster was alright. Don't mind him, I think he's a decent keeper, decent backup. I feel, put it this way, a lot of this stuff, right, you can prove anything with facts, you can prove anything with statistics, but in me waters, right, the feeling is that Fraser Forster is a solid deputy. Right, I feel more comfortable having him step into goal than I did Michel Vorm, or probably even Gazzaniga, who I think is a decent deputy. Definitely more than, I can't even remember his fucking name now, the rapping Italian lad who was just horrible player. But Fraser Forster, alright, decent goalkeeper. Japhet Tanganga, I did a tweet just before the game saying, I've always quite liked Japhet, and I kind of hope that this system we might sort of see something good from him. This is going to be the kiss of death and blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, it obviously was, because he just, I don't know. He might be rusty. He's not... He doesn't get a lot of pitch time, does he? And I can maybe kind of reconcile the idea that adds to a sense of anxiety every time he does get some moments on the pitch, that he might kind of feel that he has to impress and what have you. But even that in itself probably isn't indicative of a player who's going to be a top-level Premier League footballer at the end of the day, if we're going to be harsh about it, right? When you hear about sort of top-level players, you hear about every time they get a chance, an opportunity, they want to grab it with both hands and they want to make the very most of it. And it's funny because I felt like he did. Remember I think it was his debut under Mourinho. He played against Liverpool and he absolutely pocketed Mane. And I remember thinking, fucking hell, we've got another player here from the academy. He could be really good, really, really good. And then I think he got a couple of injuries. And he never really kind of came back from it. And he just always looks a bit short on confidence. I think that's the big thing, I like his energy. That's the thing. I like his energy. I think he sort of gives a lot for it. And I think he gives a lot to the shirt. And basically all the proper football man intangibles. I think he's kind of got those down. But I'm not sure he's a player that is of this level. What's required. And I'm not even sure he's a suitable squad player, if I'm going to be really harsh. I do feel like he's a player that a Crystal Palace or somebody like that would pick up for 12 to 15 million pounds. And that's pretty much 100% profit, right? Kid from the academy, can sell him on. I still think he's a Premier League footballer. I still think he's a decent enough player. But what I'm talking about required at this level, Tottenham, we have... See, this is the thing. People say you're deluded or say you're being whatever. expectant or entitled. But my point is, we've hired Antonio Conte. We've built a 66,000 seater stadium. I think it's 66,000, isn't it? That's going to irritate me. I think it's 66,000. We've built a big stadium, and we want to win the league. Obviously, that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming to be the best team in the country. We're aiming to be one of the best teams in Europe. So when I say he's not at the required level, that's what I mean. I don't know if do Man City sign him? Do Liverpool sign him? Do Arsenal or Chelsea or Man United sign him? I think the answer is probably a resounding no. I think we can all agree. So that's kind of my point. But do a lot of teams in the bottom half of the Premier League or mid-table Premier League sign him? Yeah, absolutely. I think they do. I think if someone like Watford comes back up, they absolutely try and sign him or something. If he's up for sale, if he's available, and I'm sure he'll have a good career with teams like that. He just needs. I think he's at an age now where he needs to be playing football, right? And we can't really facilitate anybody at this time, it would seem. I mean, Antonio Conte's reticent, obviously, to even play Jed Spence. So I don't know. Eric Dyer. The funny thing is, I was looking at Eric Dyer. I was looking at his physique. I was thinking it looks like he looks more athletic at the moment. He looks less bulky, and he's never been bulky fat. He's never looked overweight. He's looked too muscular. I feel like he's looked quite beastly. Like he's been lifting a lot of weights and stuff. Maybe he's switched up his training, his whatever it is that he's doing, his conditioning, stuff like that. But he looks more athletic. But it's funny, like a bubble sort of burst for me on him, because I felt that the sort of the last throes of last season and the beginning of this season, he suddenly looked brilliant. He suddenly looked like a man reborn under Antonio Conte. That he was turned over a new leaf and he was going to end his Tottenham career in fantastic fashion. And he just prior to the World Cup, he went through that little window of being pretty horrific. And he wasn't horrific today, but he was pretty horrible, I thought. Not terrible, but I just think a lot of his passing was a bit lax. I think his kind of general reading of the game, his positioning, it all felt a little off. Maybe little things that, when you're backing a player, right? Your confirmation bias, or it's not even a confirmation bias, you're just general bias to them. You're happy to just kind of overlook little flaws in their game, little things that that you're consciously aware of the fact that these things are happening, things that are going wrong in their game. But you think, look, I'll give him a pass that because I feel that he's one of the generals of the team and that he's generally pretty solid. I think he's quite good technically as a defender. His tackling's usually pretty decent when he times it right. A lot of his game, a lot of his flaws seem to be more mental, I feel. His general awareness, his reading of the game. I think it's funny because he seems like a pretty intelligent guy, but I don't know if his pitch intelligence is that heavy. And I know these two things don't correlate. So it's kind of it's a moot point I'm making there to a degree. But I always feel that of Dyer, that he's not quite there. He always looks like a man who's sort of a couple of seconds behind, second guessing himself, and it felt that way a bit today. I just don't feel that comfortable with him in defence, and yeah, I do really feel like he's somebody we need to upgrade. Even though I've kind of rallied against that quite a lot myself previously. But all the noises that I hear from, you see whoever, I think it's Paul O'Keefe, or I think Zeus has said previously that Conte loves him, that he's one of Conte's main men, so he ain't going to be going anywhere. So that's that, but I don't know. Longley, much of my feelings on Longley are the same as they were. Again, I didn't really notice him do anything particularly wrong today. His passing is generally quite good. And obviously, actually, to be fair to him, I believe it was his cross for Kane. Really good cross, really good header. Goal, obviously, really good header by Kane, but the cross was decent. It was put on a sixpence for him. Why do these old things endure? These kind of sayings. Sixpence has never existed in my life. I'm imagining it's a small coin, but why do they not get updated? Why don't we say you put it on a 5p piece for him? Even that's going out nowadays. Nowadays, if you carry coins around, if you carry cash around with you, right? These days, people look at you like you're some kind of sex offender. Everything's cashless now, isn't it? Right? Everyone's got apps and mobiles and all this stuff. Digital online banking. Wink at the camera to confirm it's you making a purchase. Yeah, I know what you're up to. New World Order. You just want to beam stuff into my eyeballs, don't you? And control my brain so I serve the lizard people forever. I'm onto you. All right? I'm not saying anything anti-Semitic here, by the way. I know a lot of this conspiracy talk is often, that sort of meme of shaking hands, conspiracy theories, anti-Semites. It's often in the middle. I was just talking about. It doesn't help it if I say I was just going on about David Icke's theory about lizard people. I was just referencing famous Holocaust denier David Icke in this weird little tangent I've gone on about Christian Longley and Clement Longley. Shut the fuck up, will you? Just get on with it. Clement Longley played a really good cross to Harry Kane. Scored a good goal. Decent enough player. Depends how much he would cost us to make it a permanent deal. If it was anything north of, let's throw out a nice arbitrary number here, 25 million euros. Don't want him. That's kind of how I feel on it. To me, he's good, but average. No, average feels harsh, but I mean he's just good. He's a 6 out of 10 player, but I just, you're talking about spending 30, 40 mil, 50 mil, however much Barcelona would want for him. Nah, we can get him on a nice cut price deal. Good squad player, decent enough. Matt Doherty, it was, I was happy not to see Emerson Royale starting, to be brutally honest. Doherty was alright. I thought Doherty does kind of what he does, which is get up and down the pitch quite nicely, does a job, never really looks particularly special, but never looks, I don't think, particularly terrible. He's just there. He's a steady Eddie. Again, I mean, whatever it is that he is, and whatever it is that Emerson Royale is, we all know that if we're going to stick with this, if we're going to stick with Conte, we're going to stick with this system. This is a priority position to upgrade. Priority. Like, if we're not chucking money at Porro in January, and I don't fucking buy all this shit about does he fit the profile or this or that. I mean, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but he was the best player on the pitch when we played Sporting. I've heard he's a bit rash. I've heard there's a bit of a, I don't know, the lads were talking about it on the Extra Inch during the World Cup. They all seem to feel that he's a good player, but there's certain, he's not the Messiah by any means. So, but who is? None of us really thought that Kulusevski or Bentancur were going to be what they were when we signed them. In saying that, though, I'm sorry. I've seen these alarming links to Rabiot coming up again. I mean, we were linked to him years back, weren't we, when he was at PSG, I think? And it seemed to fall to pieces there. And with his career kind of on the... I don't know how the fuck he got into that French team. No idea, because from everything I've heard, I've not watched any of Juventus this year, but apparently he has been abject for Juventus this season. I don't know. There's a lot of shit around Rabiot, isn't there? I think there's something, he's got like a weird mum or something like that. And I don't know. He just feels like one of those players, like bad apple. don't want him anywhere near the squad. Even Perisic, look, come on, man. Like the guy's just come back from. I think he was. Did he play the most time at the World Cup or something? Believe the most minutes, something crazy like that. Guy's a machine. I thought it was actually a really good performance from him today as well. Actually, considering towards the World Cup, there were a few questionable performances from him. Didn't feel like he was, maybe he was holding a bit back for the World Cup. I think, a bit less sensitive to that now. You can understand it, sort of, to agree. My thoughts on this are in no way influenced by the fact that Christian Romero just lifted the World Cup for Argentina and for Tottenham Hotspur. But we'll move past that. We'll move past the club country allegiance thing for now, because it's all done. Until whatever, Argentina have to play a friendly in a week's time in Antarctica or something, and Christian Romero's fucking charting his own ferry there. But even Perisic, good performance today, I thought. Man's a machine. It's going to be interesting to know how much longer I think it was the Athletic podcast in the week that had just. I don't think it wasn't from any kind of ITK or anything like that. It was just them in conversation, just pondering whether or not even Perisic will still be a Tottenham player next season. And I hadn't really considered that at all. Whether he is or he isn't, though, I do think, like we've said on the right-hand side, this position is priority. We have that lad coming from Udinese. Can't remember his name anymore. I don't know how his season's been. I know he was fucking taken to Serie A like he was killing it at the start of the season. But if he's... Let's have a look now. I think it was Destiny Udogie, that's it. Let's see how much he's been playing. 11 matches, 2 goals, 1 assist this season. Who knows? Conte, he doesn't seem to like young players. Well, not that he doesn't like young players, just he wants these ready-made options, right? He wants a ready-made footballer to slot into the team to win Tottenham the league. Will Destiny be that? Who knows? So maybe we do need to sign another top-class left-wing back. Hopefully Perisic will stay. I don't know, though. Who knows? But a good performance again today. Yves Bissouma, basically for the last 20 minutes, he was a completely different player to the rest of the game, where I thought he was absolutely shocking today. I thought he was appalling. Considering he's not played at the World Cup, considering he's spent, the last month with Antonio Conte, where the fuck is that player that was at Brighton gone? Was he somebody that was just playing a very prescribed role in a very specific system under Graham Potter? Is that what it was? Did Potter just know how to bring out the best in him? As a lot of people say about Dele Alli, whose career has just, gone into meltdown since leaving Tottenham, or since not being kind of one of Pochettino's favoured children. And is there a similar kind of thing there with Yves Bissouma? I think it's very different scenario. As far as I'm aware, I don't really know much about Yves Bissouma as a person, but I know with Dele there was probably there's a certain element of personal circumstances that maybe Pochettino helped to, let him see past, or I don't know. This is all fucking speculation. We don't need to talk about Dele Alli or anything like that. All we need to talk about is that Yves Bissouma is not looking great, and I thought he was almost concerningly bad again today. Like I say, last 20 minutes when our tails were up and we were going through it, he looked decent. He looked pretty busy when he was out of possession, and his passing looked pretty meaningful and decent when he had the ball. But only in that last 20 minutes, I honestly lost count of the amount of times he got caught in possession. He would just sluggishly kind of get the ball, turn around on it, not do anything with it, not move, not like recycle, as people say, possession effectively or quickly. It was a really weird performance for the most of the game. He just, like I say, he looked shell-shocked. He looked tired. He looked scared. He looked completely devoid of confidence. And that's worrying. Is that Conte? Is that somebody that's worrying about his position within the team, his future at the club? Is he unhappy at the club? I don't know. What I can say is, though, he does not look like the Basuma that we were very excited about signing from Brighton, who was looking like one of the most exciting and talented central midfielders in the Premier League. That was surely going to get that big move to City or wherever, and be the next N'Golo Kante or something. But just we're way off that. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Anybody that's listened to this for a while knows I've revised my position. I used to be very anti-Højbjerg. I think he's turned into one of our most important players. Don't feel it was a vintage performance from him today, though. I'm going to be brutally honest. Having Basuma beside him, not having the best of games, probably doesn't help. Him and Bentancur built up a really, really strong partnership. And when Basuma slotted into that as part of a midfield three, he's two looked more effective. So essentially, my point is, fucking Bentancur, give him whatever he wants. Keep him. He's a phenomenal footballer and he makes our team better. Højbjerg I didn't think was bad by any means, but I just didn't think he was that good. Didn't get a full grip on the team, but scored the equaliser, kept composed and put the equaliser away, in good fashion. So kudos to him for that. Dejan Kulusevski, please, just give this lad whatever he wants. Give him a 10-year contract. Give him 200 grand a week already. Just do it. Give him whatever he wants. Kid's a fucking superstar. He's maybe our best player, or he's going to be. I think Kane's still our best. Kane is obviously still our best player, but this lad is the future of the club. Honestly, I think he's on a trajectory to be potentially a Bale level footballer. That good. He's a very, very special footballer. He's a very special footballer. And there were shades, I thought, watching him today, it felt reminiscent of watching Tottenham in the kind of noughties, 90s. He felt like just a standout good player who was really trying to drag us forwards and get something from this game. Because, I don't know. He's a special, special footballer. What a gem. What a buy. I can't really say much more than that, Just keep him in the team. Long may it continue. Build the team around him. Make him the figurehead of this next era of Tottenham. Because we've all spoken about the fact that Kane and Son aren't going to be around forever. This lad's 21, 22? I think he might be 21. I mean, he's phenomenal. He's absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. So, do you ever... Phenomenal. Do you ever remember Brian Butterfield? Have you ever seen the Butterfield diet? If you haven't, just Google Butterfield diet. He doesn't say phenomenal, but he says the results have been incredible. Whatever. It's funny. But it's naughty. The thing is, I haven't watched this years. This was one of those things I used to crease at when I was in sixth form. I think it's from 2000, 2001. So the humour might be very dated by now, but it was still of its time quite funny. And I'm not saying of its time, simpler times, because it's some awful racist thing or something. It's nothing like that. I mean, some people might claim it's a bit fatphobic, to be fair, but 2022, everyone's all woke, aren't they? Fucking hell, can't joke about anything. Christ, this is a return, isn't it? Heung-min Son. Look, Sonny is not something we need to worry about per se. He's a Tottenham legend. He is a Tottenham legend. He is. Fuck all of you that don't say he is. He is a Tottenham legend. Didn't have a good World Cup. Didn't have a good sort of first half to the season before the World Cup with Tottenham. Didn't have a good World Cup with South Korea. And wasn't very good today, I don't think. He had a couple of nice little runs, I think, towards the end of the first half. He had a really nice little run where he almost flip-flapped it round one of the Brentford defenders, and sort of made a decent half opportunity for Kulusevski, I want to say. But who knows? Who knows what it is with Son? If A just caught up with him, if he just needs a longer rest, maybe. Maybe Conte's methods aren't great for a player who's as explosive as he is, but is, getting older. Maybe he needs to conserve that energy more. I don't know if you recall, and I know people are loath to kind of give Mourinho any sort of praise, but I think Mourinho got a lot out of Son because he often would not really rely on Son to do any running. One of his main sort of strengths with the way he utilised Son was Son is one of our most important attacking outlets. Just let him kind of wander about and do what he wants to do, and let him score goals. Let him link up with Kane and score goals. And, I think, dare I say, that little sort of era under Mourinho was maybe when Son looked his best at Spurs. I don't know. Definitely one of his most sort of effective phases in his Tottenham career. And at the moment, I just don't know. The reason why I talk about this is because the main thing I sort of look at with Son now is that he just doesn't look sharp. The thing about Sonny is, and there's always been this big debate as to whether Sonny is streaky or not. I think this has kind of gone past just him being in a bit of a funk. I think the way he's kind of moving around at the moment, the way he's getting his shots off without any real venom in them. We saw them a few times. Did you remember towards the very end of the game, it was like 94th, 95th minute, we were carving out opportunities and Son managed to he just dinked the ball on his left foot, past the defender, made that little yard of space for himself and got that shot off, which it was well placed, but it wasn't really rasping like we've seen from Sonny, like we know that he can do when he gets that, when he makes that bit of space for himself, when he makes that angle for himself, and he can just dispatch one of his shots that are rasping and quick and arrow-like into that bottom corner. But I felt several times today he would get a shot off and there was never that much in them, and they never really bothered the goalkeeper that much. And just in general, I think he sometimes gets caught in possession a bit more than he used to. And this is all very natural. This isn't this isn't some big crisis. I'm not digging Son out saying, he's got to go. We've got to worry about this. Ultimately, he's 31, 32 now. He's getting on a bit. It's just what happens to players. What we still know with Son is that he can be effective when we need him to be, hopefully anyway. He is still going to be somebody that's going to scare opposition players. Maybe we just need to look at now how we use him. But maybe not. Maybe in our next game he scores a couple of goals again. I don't know. I just feel like I say, I feel like we're kind of past the point with him now where I'm just kind of thinking, this might just be a temporary little funk. This is just streaky Son being Son. I feel like there's a little bit more to it now. And that doesn't, like I say, doesn't mean it's the end of his career. It doesn't mean it's all doom and gloom. It maybe just means that he needs a bit of a rest or he needs to be used differently, but it's the sharpness. It's the sharpness to me that I just think is not quite there. Not what I'd expect from him. Harry Kane, all eyes on Kane, right? All eyes on him after his penalty miss. I don't think the Brentford fans were that nasty to him. I think they sung a couple of things about Tony, he would have scored that or something. Whatever. It's fine. It's football, isn't it? It's what happens. But it didn't sound like they were being particularly horrible to him. I thought he was totally anonymous in the first half. And again, it's one of those things, it's that argument we always have about Harry Kane. Is it him not getting the opportunities or is it him being in the wrong place? And I'm always sort of I'm always a bit stumped in those ones. I always feel like it's if we're talking about putting it on a sixpence, old sayings, it's one of those 6 of one, half a dozen of another. I'm never really sure. But the thing is whether or not Kane is in the right position at all times or whether or not he's getting the service. funnily enough, he is always scoring goals. I think that's the crucial part with Harry Kane, right? He's probably had a pretty hellish fortnight. How long ago was it since the miss? Yeah, near enough a fortnight probably. He's probably had a pretty hellish couple of weeks. I'm sure he's gone through quite a bit personally. Takes a lot to come back from that, and to score a very good goal like he did today. Yeah, he's the boy, isn't he? It's what we take for granted with him, that he can just sort of, I don't know, he's just got a granite mentality, that lad. Be interesting to see how it plays out for the rest of the season. But after today, I genuinely did have those fears after the penalty miss. I was thinking, fuck, man. How many times can this fella just pick himself up? How many times can he be the close but no cigar man and keep going? As he says, we go again. He loves to use that expression, doesn't he? Those sort of American sports ball type expressions. And he did, though. He's done pretty well today, on balance. So I don't think we need to worry too much about him, right? Do we ever really worry about Harry Kane? Have we ever really worried that he's not going to come back and do what he does, which is just score loads of fucking goals? He's moved one closer to Jimmy Greaves' record today, which is, again, if we just focus on that, that's what his season could be. It's a remarkable achievement, a remarkable achievement if he surpasses Jimmy Greaves. And we'll see if he decides to stay at Tottenham Hotspur, if that closes the book on it or not. Who knows? Right, I'm going to leave that there because I'm going to get back inside and talk to my family. I'm going to upload this now. Thank you very much to everybody who has been supporting the show throughout the break I've had over the World Cup. It's much appreciated. There's a link in the bio of the Twitter handle, to the Buy Me a Coffee website. No obligation to do so, but if you can spare anything whatsoever, thank you very much. Hope you got everything that you wanted for Christmas, and if you don't celebrate Christmas, then I hope you've just had a nice few days anyway. Come on, you Spurs.